We're now joined live by I-24 News correspondent Emmanuel Onorat with more, who, I know you are also an amazing producer here at I-24. You've been covering this story deeply since February, a year and a half ago, right? Exactly a year and a half ago. Explain to us and to our viewers who really don't know much about who he was. We know what he did, we know about in the context, but I learned from you this morning a lot about who he was as a person. He started as a caterer for Putin. Please explain.
Right, so Yevgeny Prigozhin started out, rose to prominence with the help of his ties to Putin. His career was basically launched as a businessman. He started a hot dog business, but before all of that, he was actually a criminal. He was in jail for 9 years in 1981, and when he was released in 1990 is when he really started. He started a small hot dog business, and then it just turned into this entrepreneurial business, and it just started growing, and it became a catering business, and a catering business linked to the Kremlin, linked to Putin, and linked to Wagner.
Wow. And so with this catering business, he also then became an oligarch?
Right, so he's extremely well off, was reportedly extremely well off, and his ties to Putin have obviously helped that, and he became the co-founder, the chief of what we now know as Wagner, the private military company that has troops reportedly, because since nothing is ever confirmed, reportedly in Syria, in Ukraine, various countries in Africa, Mali, Central African Republic, Niger.
So even though we didn't hear about this group in the media cycles until this war in Ukraine, it was a very present, what he was doing was very present, and obviously an extension of Putin. So this mutiny and all of this, and what happened in such a short amount of time to this plane being down, obviously it's speculation, no one can prove it yet, but if you look at the plane falling from the sky, it's kind of easy to see, put two and two together. What is the future for Wagner without him? Obviously you see what happens if you go against Putin.
Right, so the future of Wagner is easy to assume right now. It's unclear. I think there are really two ways that this can go. Either they can prop someone new. Now, it's unclear whether a new chief of Wagner would be a loyalist to Putin or a loyalist to the Wagner, because right now the reaction of Wagner is actually pointing to Russia. All of the Telegram groups that you see linked to Wagner, the allies of Wagner, are pointing the finger at Russia, pointing the finger at Putin, in fact, saying that this was a stab in the back, just the same way that Putin had said the same thing.
And whoever maybe would take over, would they ever be able to trust? Because
either
anybody
that, or they might fold into the Russian military. So it's unclear.
So obviously we'll see how this story develops. Emmanuel, thank you very much for clarifying and explaining all of that. All right, meanwhile, today, Ukraine is celebrating, ironically, its Independence Day exactly 18 months after Russia launches full-scale invasion of its former Soviet neighbor. August 24th marks the 32nd anniversary of when Ukraine declared it would break with the Soviet Union in 1991. Before Russia's invasion, one day was marked by celebrations and parades, but last year it was darkened by a missile strike on an eastern Ukrainian train station that killed at least 22 people. The first Republican